Modern Warfare 2 is finally out, and today I'm covering the best audio settings. This is on top of the best controller and graphics settings, which I've done in a couple of previous videos, which will be linked down in the description. But regarding audio, I know some people have already been complaining that they can't quite hear footsteps that well, which is quite weird since on the beta, the footsteps were insanely loud. Well, the first thing to note is that footsteps have absolutely been quietened down from the beta. That being said, if people aren't using the Dead Silence field upgrade, we should absolutely still hear them just fine. So in terms of the audio mix, it does actually depend on what you're using. And thankfully on Modern Warfare 2, they've made it very simple compared to previous Call of Duties. So if you're using headphones or a headset, I absolutely recommend using headphone bass boost. And then obviously, if you have got a home theater, use home theater, etc, etc. Now at the moment, I have tested out each of these settings with my headset, and headphone bass boost, thankfully, is the right one to use. And when I say right one, I do mean in terms of hearing the more niche sounds which might give you an advantage in the game, i.e. footsteps and opening doors. If that isn't quite working for you though, home theater is actually great, even with your headphones. Moving on from that, I've got master volume on 100, because again, I'm using a headset, so I alter the max volume on my headset. Music volume, I've cranked this right down to 6. It's unfortunate because the music on Modern Warfare 2 is actually fantastic. However, sometimes when it's mixed with all the other sounds and volume going on in the game, you can hardly hear a thing happening. So I've put this down for a competitive edge. And it's a similar story for dialogue volume. This time I've just gone down to 50 because some of the dialogue is actually quite important to hear, such as enemy operators shouting, or even your own team's operators shouting. Effects volume, this is absolutely one that should stay on 100, so these are the important sounds like I mentioned before, like footsteps. And then we've got hit marker volume, which I put down to 50. Again, when it's mixed with everything else, it can be just quite distracting and overwhelming. But I haven't removed it completely because it's still good to know that you're hitting someone. For mono audio, I've actually switched this on. So by turning this on, as the description says, the audio is split between left and right audio channels, so you get that directional sound. For some reason, this is off as default, and I don't really understand why. And then for the mono amount, I've just left that on 1. For subtitles, I've actually left these all on, and that's throughout campaign, multiplayer, co-op, and DMZ. Now, subtitles sometimes can be distracting on the screen. However, I like to leave them on because you actually get clues to where the enemy might be, or what they're doing. As often when the operators shout something out, it'll come up as subtitles on the screen. And I've had this happen even when I can't hear the enemy operators. However, the subtitles still come up. So I know someone is either close by or what they're doing. But it is a personal choice and it's not major that you keep it on. But thankfully, we do have subtitle size as an option here. And I've left this on default as this is the smallest. For opacity, I've left that on the defaults, there's no problem there. Obviously, voice chat I've left on, I want to chat to people. And you do have the option on here of who you want to chat to in the game. So you can have all the lobby, just your party, or just your friends. I've left it on all the lobby, as I don't mind a bit of smack talk if necessary. Voice chat device, obviously that depends on what you're using. For most of us, it's going to be our headset. For open mic threshold, default of 70 seems okay for now. I put the voice chat down slightly, but again, most people can alter this on their headsets these days. But if you can't, I've put mine down to 80, just because some people are a little bit loud in the lobbies. Then the rest I've just left on default here. Until we get to channels, mute yourself whilst connecting. The default is on off, I've put it on, just because sometimes you might be chatting to your friends, or even someone in your house, just because you think you're in a pretty private lobby on your own. The next thing you know, you've started connecting into a lobby, and everyone can hear you. Not major, but gives you a little bit of extra privacy. And then for the advanced settings, these are pretty personal choice. We've got the Juggernaut music. I've left this on. I know it can be distracting, but I think if you've managed to get to Juggernaut in the game, which is the highest kill streak, I think you should at least enjoy it with the insane music. Hitmarker sound effects, obviously that is completely subjective, but I've left it on the modern sounds for now. I'll probably move it to classic for the nostalgia. Then lastly, we've got the option to reduce the tinnitus sound when you're stunned or flashed. By default, this is off. I highly recommend turning it on. As someone with tinnitus, you don't want to hear those sounds too often. And of course, if those sounds are dulled, there's a chance we'll still pick up the audio cues of other things going on. So they were the best audio settings for Modern Warfare 2. If you want to know the best graphic settings and controller settings, head over to one of these videos. See ya!